quick recap. We started by saying that measurement is necessary, and it is important to have good measures, valid measures, because in our domain you have very abstract constructs, and therefore it is very important that the measure that we have is the right measure for the construct that we are interested in. So what we want to do essentially is have a reliable as well as a valid measure of the construct. So we went through different steps. The first step, if you remember, was uh, uh, defining the domain, defining the construct, right? That could be based on literature review, that could be based on uh, interviews with participants, with practitioners, with experts. So you come up with your own definition of a construct, okay? And then based on that definition, we move to step two, where we start developing items. We start developing simple statements that would capture the domain of our interest, that would capture the sub-dimensions that we are interested in. So that was step number two, and we looked at different aspects on item generation. We looked at different formats of scaling. We looked at different scoring formats, dichotomous, Likert, odd number, even numbered, and we did a discussion around that. Then we moved to exploring the idea of reliability. Remember, I told you that reliability is the first condition for validity. If a measure, if a set of items are not reliable, then they cannot be valid, right? So we say reliability is a necessary but not sufficient condition for validity. Even if a set of items are reliable, it does not mean that they are actually measuring what you intend to measure. So one is the consistency part. Reliability talks about consistency of items, and validity talks about accuracy of the items, right? Accuracy in the sense that the items actually capture the construct of our interest. If the items are not reliable, then there is no question of asking whether the items measure something which is common and the right thing that we intend to measure, right? So we looked at formulas of reliability. We looked at the matrix structure. We did a formula for reliability using both covariance matrix as well as inter-item correlation matrix. We did an exercise by hand. I gave you a matrix of 3 items, and then we tried to compute the reliability. We also did a hands-on session on reliability using SPSS, and we computed reliability for the different measures that we are working with. Then we moved on to the question of dimensionality testing, right? So yesterday we did explore different decisions that we have to make when we are doing exploratory factor analysis. I also talked about the difference between exploratory and confirmatory. We do exploratory only when we are developing a new scale, right? You are uh, mixing uh, different constructs from different papers or adding new items to existing scale, and you are substantially changing existing scale. In that case, we will do exploratory factor analysis. If you are using an already developed, already validated scale, okay, in that case, you will never do an exploratory factor analysis. You will always do a confirmatory factor analysis. So we discussed exploratory factor analysis is theory generating. That means we understand which items load onto what construct, whereas confirmatory factor analysis is theory testing. So we have an a priori understanding of the specific items that load onto specific factors, and then we describe that structure in the software and test it whether the factor structure is holding in our sample or not, right? So that is the idea of confirmatory analysis. We looked at 4 decisions that we do, that we have to think about when we do exploratory analysis. The first decision was sample size, and I showed you the literature also. Anything more than 200 is something that you can work with. More than 300 is good, 500 is very good, and so on. So at least you should have reasonable sample size when you are doing factor analysis. Then we looked at the second question on extraction. I showed you the difference, tried to explain you the difference between PCA and PAF. When we are doing scale development, when we are doing latent factor extraction, remember we will always do principal axis factoring. That is a better method of factor analysis. PCA, on the other hand, is a very simple data reduction technique that is usually followed in marketing when you have lots of variables and uh, which you think are impacting an outcome. You just want to classify or group them under different groups. So when we are doing scale development, measure development, we will always do principal axis factoring. Then we talked about the difference between communality and eigenvalues, and why we say that when you are looking at factor extraction, look for eigenvalues greater than 1. What is the intention behind eigenvalue greater than 1? And lastly, we talked about rotation in EFA, and we explored the difference between oblique and Varimax. When you are developing scales, it is very hard to say that your subdimensions of the construct will not be correlated, and therefore it is a better thing to always start with oblique rotation and then move on to Varimax rotation if the interfactor correlations are small, right? Lastly, towards the end of the day, I was talking about construct validity. We talked about 3 types of validity. The first one, content validity. Content validity was step 1 and 2, where we were defining the domain and developing items. That is a very qualitative step, subjective step, and that is concerned with understanding the content of your construct. So that is first part of validity. The second part is what we call as construct related validity, and they are of 3 types. First, what we call as convergent validity. Second is what we call as discriminant validity, and the third is what we call as nomological validity, right? And convergent validity is when you are developing your own measure and you also have another measure, not a very accurate measure, but maybe there is some other measure that is existing. So convergent, you explore the whether your measure correlates with existing measure of the construct. So that is convergent. That is one kind of convergent validity. Second kind of convergent validity we will talk about today, where we will look at whether the items converge onto a latent factor, right? So that is also another type of convergent validity, and that is actually explored or examined through composite reliability. Then the second kind is discriminant validity. Your construct measured through the instrument you have developed should be distinct from other constructs, right? That is called as discriminant validity. That means my construct is different from another construct. Again, you show it through correlations. And then the third thing is nomological, where you actually test relationships, regressions, path analysis between the either antecedent or consequences of the focal construct. So focal construct is the construct for which you are developing the measure. So you include at least two two more constructs that would be either antecedent or consequent or both, and then you show the relationships between these constructs, right? That is called as nomological. And then we talked about predictive, the third kind of validity, which is called as criterion validity. It is again similar to nomological validity, but you are saying that you uh, will collect the outcome variable at a later time and show that your construct causes an outcome at a later time. So that is called as predictive validity. I predict an outcome based on my construct, and that is the predictive validity. Concurrent validity is when you have the outcome at the same time, okay, available to you, and uh, uh, again you show the relationship between the focal construct and your uh, whatever outcome you have in mind, right? So that is what we did today. What we will